Hello, and welcome to day 82 of 99 Days of Deeper Embodiment. My name is Jason King. Okay, that's a little better. Good morning, Ganga. Nice to see you here. I can't even see that. What is that? What is that emoticon? I don't know. If you're joining, feel free to leave a comment. Let me know you're here. So yesterday, I really spoke about the importance of a commitment. And there really is no embodiment without one. Because a commitment is what allows us to focus intently on one thing. So, what a commitment begins to do is it begins to align all of the thoughts. Hi, Celeste. Nice to see you. Okay. So, without a commitment, then there's nothing to align the thoughts. Now, let us imagine again that we are a body that is simply a bag of thoughts. It is a bag of thoughts. This is a bag of thoughts. Okay. So I drew a little picture yesterday. I'm going to show it to you here. And so you see here is body. And body is filled with thoughts. And all of those thoughts, as I've mentioned in previous videos, are conflicting because this is the conditioned mind. So the conditioned mind is conditioned by what? It's conditioned by thoughts that are around the body, around me. So it's conditioned by what my mother says, it's conditioned by what my father says, it's conditioned by what my siblings say, it's conditioned by what media says, it's conditioned by what church says, it's conditioned by what school says, by what teacher says. So mind is constantly being conditioned by external thoughts. And so the more that the mind is conditioned, the more that the body is filled with thoughts. So we can see the body there, and all the scribble is all the conflicting thoughts that are in the body. Just imagine that. Imagine all the thoughts as little particles, little pieces of metal or particles. Just imagine that. Okay, this is a visual just for imagination's sake to play with. And imagine that they're all floating around in body and they're all moved in different directions and they're all just jagged and they're there, right? Multidimensionally. And so now my reality that I'm seeing is a projection of body. And so what I'm perceiving as real is just the thoughts that are within the body that are all conflicting. Right? And so there's traumas in there, there's emotions in there that are attached to thoughts, there's a whole bunch of stuff. It's a fold up a body that's filled with a whole bunch of thought. Yeah. And so the more that you begin to recognize, wow, my body is filled with thoughts. My body is filled with conflicting thoughts. And this is what is forming my reality, then the more of an awareness and a push around this there is to align the thoughts. Align the thoughts with something. Align the thoughts with something that is a higher will, if you will, a will that is higher than what the thoughts tell you. So if I'm always believing what the thoughts are telling me, then what is forming my reality? Whatever the thoughts that are there. And so I will think that this is my will, but in reality, it has nothing to do with me. There's no higher will there. It's just thoughts that are appearing. They're quite spontaneous and random, and they don't really make any sense. And they're just showing up, and there are all sorts of different directions and conflicting, and they don't really make any sense. One moment I'll have a whole bunch of thoughts that tell me really nice things, and the next moment a whole bunch of thoughts that tell me really awful things, and who knows? Doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter at all, because that's not will. The thoughts that are speaking, that's not my will. That isn't will at all. They're just thoughts. That's all they are. They have nothing to do with anything. And so now I want to align the thoughts with a higher will. My will, right? My will. I want to align them with my will. I want them to get them to all line up. And so see here, right? I put a triangle around it. And this triangle is a container around the body that I'm using it to align with a higher will. So what is this higher will here that I'm depicting as a circle above the head? It's not really a circle. I scribbled it as a circle, but you get the idea, right? So what is this higher will? This is my commitment. This is the commitment that I make. So I make the commitment, and now I have created a container around body, and that commitment is aligning all of the thoughts with my will, because I decided what I'm committed to. And so now all the thoughts that are within body, they must align with my will, which we can say in this case, because it's a commitment, it's a higher will. It's a higher will than any of the thoughts that are showing up. As long as I continue to maintain the commitment, then that will aligns all of the thoughts that show up during the period of my committed focus and then action with that commitment. So I put here also at the top, I am, which is what all thoughts will end up pinging. All of existence pings I am, I exist, I exist, I exist, I exist, I exist, I exist, I am. This is the energy of source. I am presence, another word for it, or I am presence. So what eventually we get all of the thoughts to simply align with that. Simply align with presence. They all align with presence. There's no thought that's ever believed. All thoughts align with presence. They all align with I am. And then with this alignment, then there's no perceived separation at all. There's no duality perceived at all. All there is perceived is I am. All there is seen is I am. But before we can get to I am, it is much more effective to begin to embody aspects of the divine within the body. Aspects of the divine. Why? Because how am I going to focus on I am if I cannot feel love within my body? How am I going to focus on I am if all I'm feeling is painful ideas within the body? How am I going to focus on I am if I cannot feel gratitude within my body? How am I going to focus on I am if I cannot feel abundance within my body? How am I going to focus on I am if I feel like I need or I desire a whole bunch of things in my life. I'm not going to. There's no pull to just focus on I am presence. There's no pull to do that at all if I have all these needs, wants, and desires running in my body, which is my mind. And all of those needs, wants, and desires are what is moving my body, moving my actions. So if I'm being moved all the time by lots of needs, wants, and desires, then there's nothing in me that can really disconnect from those needs, wants, and desires long enough to focus on what is, to focus on I am. So to say, okay, I'm only going to focus on I am presence, that would be denying an intermediate step. An intermediate step, which would be embodying aspects of the self. Embodying those aspects of the self that would really be part of the empowerment of my mind. Because if I'm always feeling bad about myself all the time, if I'm always feeling as if I don't have what I need, want, or desire all the time, if I'm always feeling as if I'm unfulfilled all the time, and I'm having to try to do this for personal development or do this to get better, then how am I supposed to see that everything is exactly what it is and that everything is within the perfection of the self always? I can't. Because what is showing up for me is a jumbled mess of thoughts. All of these thoughts that are just filled into the body. So I can't see that everything is the perfection that it is all the time. That is not what is showing up for me. So I need to start with being honest with myself about where I'm at. Okay, well, what is showing up for me? Ooh, all right, I see that. I see that what is showing up for me is a whole lot of needs, wants, and desires. Wonderful. Perfect. So if there's a whole lot of needs, wants, and desires, then what do I need to do? Well, I can't deceive myself and say that I'm not feeling all these needs, wants, and desires. I have to admit it. I have to be honest with myself about it. Yes, these needs, wants, and desires are showing up. Yes, this is what is here. I'm not in a space where I am feeling the wholeness of myself. I'm not in a space where I'm feeling fulfilled all the time. That is not my experience. Okay, now we're honest. Beautiful. Okay, so what was happening before when you're in a space where you're listening to a whole bunch of teachers saying, "Oh well, just focus on the felt sense of wholeness and completeness," and I've spoken this, I've said this myself. Focus on the felt sense of wholeness and completeness, and this is true. Anytime I focus on the felt sense of wholeness and completeness, then it begins to dissolve that need, that want, or that desire that's showing up. However, when I am really embodying, I need to look at it from a place of what are the effective commitments to make. Because an effective commitment is going to line up the thoughts so that I begin to dissolve those needs, wants, and desires. I'm meeting those needs, wants, and desires within myself effectively. Because it works like a magnet, right? So here at the top is my focus. This is my commitment. So say I put abundance here, and I'm focused on abundance. Then this magnet is going to dredge. It is going to start pulling up all of the ideas that are within body that say that I am not abundant, that say that I do not have physical wealth, that I do not have material wealth, that I am not wealthy, that I am not worthy of wealth. So it will start to pull out of this quantum mess, all of the ideas that say that I am not abundance. So if my commitment, which is my focus up here, is the magnet of abundance, I am abundant, I am abundant, I am abundant, then it will start to pull up all of the ideas there are within the consciousness of this individual mind that say that I am not abundant. And as it pulls that up, then there will be space created within body, and space will fill with presence. It will fill with I am presence. I will begin to feel myself within that space, right? So if there's a whole lot of ideas showing up that say that I am not attractive, I am not sexually attractive, then I could embody a different one, which would be I am beautiful. I am beautiful. I am beautiful, and bring beauty, would pull up all the ideas that say that I'm ugly or that I'm not attractive, and it would begin to dissolve those ideas and create more space in the body. You see, and so the more that I use commitment in this way, the more I begin to meet those ideas, those images, and those charges within the body and clear them out. And then what comes in is the felt sense of presence. But if I'm going directly to the felt sense of presence and trying to stay focused on only that, then oftentimes, in my experience, there's too much to meet in the body that makes the body feel all sorts of horrible, that I can't maintain that focus. It takes me off of that focus, and I begin to move into ideas and deceive myself that, oh, yes, I'm focused on silence. Meanwhile, I'm really not. I'm really just deceiving myself. I'm really just avoiding what is there, you see. So it requires a lot of honesty to get to a place where I can effectively create the commitments that I need in order to shift my focus so that I am dissolving the conditioned mind and the thoughts within it, and then moving from the new self, the new version of myself. Because as I'm dissolving those thoughts, then a new version of myself is what is appearing here. This is a transformation. Eventually, there will be so much clarity within the body that I am presence takes over. And there's no need to effort through this. There's no need for commitment. There's no need for any of this. However, that is not where we are at as a collective. And that is not where anyone who is tuned into this is. Trust me. See for yourself. So if you're listening to other teachers and they're telling you, oh, it's an organic process, there's no efforting involved, notice that that makes the ideas feel better. That makes the ideas relax. And that's exactly what you want to dissolve, those ideas. It allows the tension to relax when it says, oh, don't do anything, just float. Just be here now. So that gives you permission, that gives the mind permission to continue running amok, to continue running chaos, to continue running all of those conflicting ideas that have been running you your entire life. At this stage of evolution, we went, as a collective, went so far away from the will. We are so detached from the will and from our own sovereignty and the ability to exercise the will, that in order to come back in line with the will and understand how to use our will, it requires a lot of efforting. It requires a lot of alignment with commitment and an understanding of what I'm committed to and why. Why would I commit to that? Because I'm seeing come up for me a lot of ideas saying that I need this, or I desire this, or I want this. So what I need to do is meet those ideas fully and completely. So how do I meet those ideas fully and completely? I focus on the fulfillment of that. I focus on the wholeness and completeness of that, so that I begin to meet those ideas within myself. And so yesterday I mentioned that eventually we would want to get to the place where we are committed for longer periods of time, because the longer the commitment that I can make related to embodying an aspect of myself, the more effective it is. The more of that aspect of myself I embody, the more ideas I dissolve that say that I'm the opposite of that, and the more of that trait I begin to embody within myself. But because we've moved so far away from the will, it can be quite difficult to get to that place where I can take on larger commitments, because a lot of resistance comes up. So initially, I may want to keep the commitment only in the day. I am committed today. And today, this is what I will do. And then do it. And then as I'm meeting commitments in the day, and that feels fun, and I'm moving through them, and I'm gaining momentum from that, then extend the commitment to a week. And then extend the commitment to a month. The idea here is that you don't want to break the commitment. You don't want to meet a lot of resistance to it and not fulfill it. Because then that will train your mind that you are the opposite of trustworthy. That will tell your mind that your will is not to be trusted. The whole idea here is that we are clearing all of the ideas from the mind and training the mind that the will is trustworthy, that the will can be trusted, it is reliable. And then the body begins to trust your will, all of the mind begins to trust your will, and you become a unified being. There's no conflict within you anymore. So we don't want to break a commitment that we make. We want to maintain the commitment, no matter what. Because this trains the mind and shows the mind that the will is trustworthy, which it is. Because when you are choosing from this understanding, the understanding of embodying the self, embodying yourself, then of course the will is trustworthy. So now how do we design these containers? Container, see, container. How do we design these containers of practice, which effectively dissolve the mind and allow us to embody the self? Dissolve the mind and allow us to embody the self. That is a topic for another day. How to actually design what commitments, what practices we use. Well, actually, today I got into the commitments, what commitments I would want to make. So you're beginning to see, okay, this is the commitment that I need. This is the commitment that I want. And it is now beginning to align with your own divinity, your own source connection, so that you begin to see, oh yes, this is actually what's showing up for me, and this is what I need. You don't need a teacher to tell you what you need, because you're beginning to see it yourself. And that is the idea here. I don't want to be the one prescribing for you what you need. I want you to be able to do it for you. You to be able to see it for you. And this is much more empowering. It is challenging at first, though, because there's so much self-deception running, and the self-deception will get you committing to things that don't make sense. and it'll get you taking on larger commitments than are required, because you're feeling that within you you're not worthy, or you're not adequate, or that you're not good enough, so you're overcompensating for that. So it will get you to commit to things that really don't make sense, that are outside of your reach, that don't really have anything to do with where you're at as far as embodying now. And then you'll break those commitments. And then when you break those commitments, it just further reinforces the idea that you're unworthy, that you're not worth anything, and that you're a piece of shit. And that is not the idea. So that is why I'm speaking to these things very specifically. And if you haven't had any experience doing this before, it can be very helpful to run your ideas as far as what you feel that you need to be committed to, and how to design your container of practice in front of someone like me, so that I can feel into it fully for you, and see if there's any sort of self-sabotage running there before you move forward. However, the idea is that you have the ability to do this yourself, which is why I'm clearly speaking about it and clearly giving you guidance on how to do that, so that you can connect with your own divinity and see for yourself exactly what you need for your own embodiment. Honestly, truthfully, this is where I am, this is what I need. No more self-deception. No more self-sabotage. All of that is a thing of the past. That is not where you are at today. You are now committed to your own embodiment. So, in being committed to your own embodiment, that self-sabotage, that believing that you're unworthy, that is a thing of the past. Now, we are simply focused on what is effective for my own embodiment. And in this way, we create an amazing vehicle for experiencing the light, joyous, and beautiful world that we have all come here to experience. So let's take a moment and just ground all of this information in here and now, becoming aware of the body, aware of any sensations within the body, aware of any charges that may have come up during this conversation. Okay, they're highlights. Wonderful. See them. Be with them. They're there for you. They're for your benefit. Any charges are highlights. That is part of your embodiment. So be with those charges. See what those beliefs are. Integrate them. Integrate them by relaxing into them, letting them dissolve into you, and recognizing whatever the belief says, and then flipping it, changing it into a less painful belief, into a belief that is aligned with the truth of you, that is aligned with your embodiment. And if you're feeling overwhelmed right now, that's okay too. Just sit with the overwhelm and say to yourself, feeling and being overwhelmed is now being released and cleared from in and around me. I am sovereign, and I am empowered to embody myself here and now. I no longer believe that I am worthless. So I now raise all those parts of me that believe that they are worthless into the divine's light. And I now integrate those parts of me into the wholeness of the wholly fulfilled I am that I am here and now. And I now choose to be empowered. I now choose to take my power and embody consciously. I now choose to exercise my will and to trust my will. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you tomorrow for day 83. Have a beautiful day. I love you so very much. Bye bye.